is funded by viewers like you. Support our independent journalism at patreon.com/narrative. And welcome back. And Josh will be back. Sorry, John will be back in just a second. The person you're seeing on the bottom right of his screen there is Josh Remillard, who is the candidate who's running to take down Madison Cawthorn, who is the freshman congressman from North Carolina. Hi, Josh. How are you doing? Oh, hang on. I've got you down here. There you are. Go ahead. You're back up. Hi there. How are you doing?
Doing good.
You're like the anti Madison Cawthorn in so many ways, because Madison is you're a family man. You've got a good family there, and you're running on a ticket that's really about returning to sort of the core values of the Democratic Party. So tell us a little bit about your candidacy, and then we'll go into the backstory of Madison as well.
Yeah. So I ran last year. For the North Carolina state seat out here in Henderson County, and it didn't go the way I wanted it to. But after that, I did some deep soul searching, and I wanted to continue serving the community. That's just, I guess, it's just the way I am from the military. I see a mission, I want to accomplish it. And then January 6th happened, and then you had my opponent, Madison Cawthorn, up there on the world stage, telling people to go ahead and storm the Capitol, telling people to go ahead and threaten their local state reps to change the vote. And I remember, just sitting there seeing this, and then my wife came home, and I remember just yelling, and she's like, "What's going on?" And I said, "This is unbelievable. This is for the past 200 years, we've had service members who have raised their hand and oath to this country to defend their families, this country, again, in the Constitution." And here he is, just spitting on every single sacrifice that everyone has given to this country. I lost battle buddies when I was in Iraq. I lost some really good friends of mine back here due to PTSD. And it's like, I'm not gonna stand around while you take everything that every other person in this country, throughout the history of this country, and toiled over. Watch you just tear it down in one day. No. And that's not what Western North Carolina deserves either. Mm-hmm. So I decided to get back in and take him on and try to bring a little bit of honor and dignity back to Western North Carolina.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's true. From the coast, looking in, it sometimes looks like the entire country in the middle is so much, baked in the Madison Cawthorn kind of perception of the world that, whatever the Republican Party says is right and whatever Donald Trump says is right, and we have to just follow him. I gather you think it's very different. Yeah,
look, especially out here, like you said, like there's this perception that everyone sort of thinks along those lines. But I'd say it's the opposite. There are so many people across the political spectrum out here who, they just want to go about their day. They want to pursue the American dream. They want to go to work. They want to come home. They want to spend time with their family. Mm-hmm. I've spoken to some far right conservative people, and they're concerned about healthcare, just like someone on the left is. They're concerned about healthcare, that it's expensive, or that they can't get it, or that, especially out here, we've had hospitals closed down left and right just because it's too expensive to keep them going. These are things that people are concerned with, and the people. It's not that way. The people out here, they're not all crazy fringe lunatic Trumpers. They're regular, average, everyday people who just want to go about living their lives.
Let me hear one of your.
You have a baby.
You have a baby there.
What? How many kids do you have?
I have two girls. One of you is 3 years old, and Aowen's about to turn 2.
Okay.
That's
you
awesome.
got
Good
your
names.
hands
Good
full.
names.
I'll keep going.
Oh, that's good. No, I'm just, can you tell us a little bit about, I love that that's how you're communicating for your community and that you're connected to your community. Can you tell us a little bit about your personal story and not just that you wanted to serve, but what maybe drew you into the military and what it's been like for you and your home and your family and all that. We just like to know a little bit more about you.
Oh, absolutely. So at the age of 4, I was adopted by my grandparents. Before that, I was sort of bouncing around from foster home to foster home. There was this thing that they always taught me, and it's I think it's through them adopting me that this really shined through. When there's something worth fighting for, you put everything you can into that basket, all the eggs you can in that basket, and you fight for it. My grandfather was in the Foreign Service. We traveled around the world, and then when he retired, he moved. He retired, we moved back to North Carolina, and we decided to plant some roots in Wilmington. So I went to high school there, and
Nice.
it was around 2006 that I saw a lot of what was going on in Iraq, and I started seeing that. I was paying a little bit more attention to the death toll. I was seeing a lot of service members over there fighting, sweating, toiling, and I was like, I started thinking to myself, what am I doing? Like I'm working, this really minimum wage job. I'm not doing anything with my life. What am I doing? And while these people are over there, fighting for our freedoms to protect, again, like I said, their families, our Constitution, this country, the ability to live the American dream. What am I doing? So, I drove to my recruiter that day, and I went in and I said, look, I don't want you to sell me on anything. I want to be in the infantry, and I want you to put me in the fastest deploying unit that you can, because that's where I need to be. I need to be up there with the fight. So I did. I enlisted for 5 years.
Tours? 5 years. How many tours did you?
So I did 5 years, and then I re-enlisted, so a total of 8 years. But I did 2 tours in Iraq. The first in Baghdad during the surge, and then the last tour I did. We went up to Mosul, and we were sort of like the backstop for a lot of the units that were exiting Iraq. So we have a lot of memories, a lot of stuff to think back on.
Sorry, go ahead, Greg. Do you have any questions?
Well, yes, you. First of all, thank you for doing that, and I got
That's
chills
right.
hearing that, because
Thank you.
I wouldn't have the guts to do that, and I've read a lot about the war. That's as far as I would go. So seriously, good on you. I salute you. But your opponent also has a pretty strong military background. I mean, he's a guy that he went to the Naval Academy, and he was in battle with a tree, I saw online, and he went and and he got Hitler in the bunker. No, he just visited the place where Hitler hung out. That's all.
Yeah.
What do you think when you? Because I think the stolen valor thing is pretty awful with him. Of the many things, he's like the bad guy from an '80s movie. He's like Stalin from Better Off Dead. This guy, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you think when you see him? How are you going to debate him without being completely enraged? Is my question.
Well, that's and this is a good point. That's the thing about Madison Cawthorn. I'll answer the first part. Seeing the stolen valor, that harkens back to what I was just saying earlier. This is, again, there are so many people that fought overseas, that raised their hand, didn't come home, and they were willing to make that sacrifice because they believed in their core. Just like I believe in my core that America's worth fighting for. Our communities are deserve to be defended, against threats, foreign and domestic. And so we believe that. And then you got this guy over here who saw his shot at 15 minutes of fame, and took it. And so that to me that angered me beyond anything, because again, I lost friends to PTSD.
Was it not out? Yeah, was it not out? I just got to ask you, for your area, for your community, did people believe that he was in, or was it out that he was lying about this then? I don't know when that lie got punctured, or were people just assuming it and he just rode the wave of that because he is disabled? How does that happen? How does somebody who lies about service end up a congressperson? I find that shocking.
I guess. Well, so there was a little bit of research done on him after he made all these accounts of himself, and it was pretty far into the campaign at that point when it was found out that it was backwards. He had applied for the Naval Academy, but then was rejected, and then he crashed into the tree, and then he tried to blame his friend, and then he tried to sue him, and just a whole slippery slope of just bad stuff that, in my mind, it lends no respect to this community whatsoever.
It's even worse than that. I mean, because what BuzzFeed reported in the recent weeks, and was this incredible expose where they spoke to like 36 people who went to high school with him, and they found that they including 24, by the way, they were former students and their friends and relatives, I should say here, of course, and they had lots of complaints around him being a predator, really, to the younger girls in the very Christian school that he went to, a private school, I think. Was it private school, but still a very Christian school? And, their allegations include calling them derogatory names in public in front of their peers, including calling one woman slutty, asking them inappropriate questions about their sex lives, grabbing their thighs, forcing them to sit on his lap, and kissing and touching them without consent. One of those women now works as an intern for another Republican member of Congress, and she passes Cawthorn in the corridors of the Capitol. And then there's one of the things that he used to do is often in his car, he would entrap these women in his car and harass them. He used to take them on these fast drives, which he used to call fun drives. And then he used to harass them on there by locking them in the car and asking them all these really inappropriate questions and making it difficult for them to get away because they had nowhere to get away to. And this guy is he's just the worst kind of person you'd imagine would ever run for Congress or be a congressman in America, and yet here he is lying his way to the seat. That must be a very difficult thing to deal with.
Yeah. Again, I've got two young daughters, and I want nothing but the world. I want nothing but the world for my girls, and I want them to be able to to be able to pursue their dreams when they get older and not have to worry when they go to school or when they're at work or just out and about that they have to feel uncomfortable about themselves, because that's the kind of person that my opponent portrays himself as, and it seems to be proud of. And anyone that wants to call him out, he wants to try to build up some sort of argument around us, calling us Pelosi drones or what have you. And it's like, no, man. Like I refuse to allow you to kind of breed that kind of ignorance, that negativity for my daughters when they grow up. And so, yeah, you're right. That's not in my. I don't respect him as my representative.
And earlier on, we were speaking about how these ops are being run to sort of protect people's reputation. Kevin McCarthy, just a few days before this article came out in BuzzFeed, put out this video of Madison, talking about how he's a family man, a country guy, likes to cook dinner for his wife, this very wholesome image, which is intended to sort of prepare everyone ahead of time to disarm some of these allegations or some of the allegations that came out in BuzzFeed. So there is a campaign trying to support him from the very highest levels of the Republican Party. Do you have the same kind of support coming from the Democrats?
For against him? Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I would say, he is the epitome of what happens when people don't take their responsibility seriously. You see it as your block of 15 minutes of fame, and you just keep riding it. You go up on Fox and Friends and you talk about Dr. Seuss, or on Twitter you challenge people to arm wrestling matches. Whatever the case is, it's not doing anything for any of us out here in Western North Carolina that need health care, that would like to see our economy boosted, that would like to see our education improve. It's doing absolutely nothing of that for us out here. And
that's such a good point. And I think if you lean into that, I really think that's a great a distinguisher for you with this guy, with your community, in that, is it really just now that running for office is about Instagram fame and so this sort of weird celebrity niche on some, on cable news, or is it about doing the work and helping the people in the community and seeing what kind of what you can get done policy wise. I just feel like this guy is the epitome of just an Instagrammer. You know what I mean? Like it's everything's fake. Everything's a fake narrative. You get Kevin McCarthy coming in with the fake stuff. He goes for the Hitler thing, and that'll be sensational. But I like the guy, but I don't like the guy. But look, you can't deny that he's a. It's like, what are you doing? What does that have to do with people who are struggling to get to a hospital with their kids, right? Or get some education going, or have food on their table, or have, it's like, what is this? I think I think people are sick of that. I don't think, regardless of party, I think everyone's just sick of it. Stop going into politics just to be a social media personality. It's insane.
Yes.
So I encourage that.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
I encourage that narrative for you.
Yeah. I mean, when I got out of the Army, I used the post 9/11 GI Bill. I got my degree in political science and philosophy, and from the University of Washington, and then I wanted to continue serving, so I got involved with this organization, this amazing organization, Team Rubicon, and they train veterans up on natural disaster relief. They trained me up on wildland firefighting as well as damage assessment. And so after Hurricane Michael hit, they deployed me down to Hurricane Michael, and I helped out in Florida with some of that natural disaster relief.
You're a saint.
So
we need to get you in Congress right away. We need you guys. The guys like you, at least. That's amazing.
I guess I always take it back to what something my drill sergeant said. He's like, you don't do this job or any other job for fame or fortune. You do this job because that's the job that you have to do. Point blank, period. So, it's always weird for me to be like in the spotlight, talking about it. I just prefer rolling up my sleeves, getting down on the ground and getting the job done. Cause that's bottom line where it needs to be, where a representative needs to be.
Absolutely. Don, do you have any questions?
I was going to say thanks, like Greg, thanks very much for your service. It's great to meet you, hear your story. On a lighter note, I think I have the exactly same pattern shirt that you're wearing. So I have that somewhere. So do I. Right over there. I've worn it many times now. I keep looking at it. I'm like, is that the same shirt? And it is the same shirt. And, really, as the conversation is going, and LB just touching it, the one thing I think hearing you speak, like you're an absolutely genuine person. You're a real person. You can hear your kids in the background. You can see it through your smile, the energy you're giving off, the stories you're telling. Like I kind of read people quickly. It's double-edged sword and whatnot. Maybe I'm good at it, maybe not. I think I'm pretty good. But you're on. You can tell you're just a really good person, and your adversary is not. So I just think one of the I don't know if it was Zev or LBS. Was the Democratic Party helping you? I think a huge thing that would be helpful to be able to get that message out. It's messaging, and even if people don't like that people are running on Instagram and running on Twitter, it's a reality of today's society, right? Like, go back to my friends from Rittenhouse, Lynn Wood had, I think, 50,000 Twitter followers. And then he got involved with the Rittenhouse thing and he started pushing the Q narrative, and his followers went to like 650,000 before he even announced he was doing the Trump election fraud. Then he got to 1.2 million. Now, I know there's some of you folks that have pretty big followings, but that's where they're getting a lot of their support, right? You go in the rooms, whatnot. So, whether or not that's the best way to do it, I mean, you have a great message, you have a great story. And I think it's as important to get out your good story as it is to get out, the lies and the fakeness on the other side. So that's one thing. And then, one of the just straight question I had, and you touched on this very earlier, but it really interests me. Somebody like you, who's been on 8 tours, who's, you there in Iraq during the surge, and you touched on this in your very first comments about January 6th and the attack on the Capitol, and really an effort to just overthrow democracy. And, I've never served, and so I completely respect what you do. But, the way I see it is if I had gone out to another country, or my children had, I don't have children, but if I did, and put their lives on the line for what you're being told is America and democracy and all the things that you're sold on, to do that, and all the things that you think you're defending and you are defending, and then to see a day like January 6th and the reaction of some of the people on the other side, what is that like? What are the emotions that go through you when you watch the videos, when you hear the rhetoric, after you went and risked your life, for your country, and they're kind of trying to overthrow exactly what it's all about.
It was very visceral. It was very, I guess, just deep into my core, like just anger. When my wife came home from work that day, I was watching everything that happened, and I just started yelling, and she was like, and I was like, look, I'm not yelling at you. I'm just yelling because you're here, and I can't believe this. That's exactly it. Every single one of us, you go through, if you're an infantryman, you go through like 6 months of training, and you learn that your job as an infantryman is to be on the front lines. You charge that machine gun nest. That's your job, and you're doing it. And there's no way to get someone to do that if it's not tied to something bigger than themselves, and that's defending our country. I mean, people continually look at, good, bad, or indifferent. They look at America because we are the land of opportunity. We have freedoms over here, So to see someone go up on the world stage and tell people there's a lot of fight in them, go ahead and threaten your local state reps if they don't change this thing. Go up there and storm this place. Just do all the stuff. I don't even know. There's just not. I don't feel like there's necessarily a word for that. Like it's so internally angry. It makes me so internally angry. Like I can't believe it. And I felt like at that moment this is the only way that I could continue serving my community, is by making sure that he's no longer in that office, and that someone who actually gives a damn, excuse me, can
you can say damn here.
Okay.
You said much worse. Trust me.
Have you not heard my mouth?
Damn is okay.
Oh my God.
With someone who cares about their community, and it doesn't matter to me if someone's a Republican, if they're a conservative, if they're a Democrat, if they're a liberal. It doesn't matter. You live in my district. You deserve someone who cares about this community, going to D.C., keeping their head down, rolling their sleeves up, and getting the job done. Making sure that we, again, have adequate health care, have a strong and robust economy, and can make sure that our kids have good education. That's it.
Really inspiring words, Josh. Thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight. You should tell everyone where they can find you on Twitter, because this show is primarily watched on Twitter. Handle? What's your Twitter handle?
My Twitter handle is Josh at Josh for Congress.
No, is it Josh for Congress?
At Josh for Congress with a 4?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have a blue check, or you're not blue check? It's hard to get that.
They're not giving them out.
He
doesn't know. Let's love that.
Let us help you. We're going to help you with your. We're going to help you with your following, but you'll get your follower count up. We'll help you boost that a little bit, but it's not about you being an Instagram or a Twitter star. It's about your message getting out there and people knowing that you're actually going to go work for them, not just try to be famous. How about that?
Yeah. I love how authentic you are, and what a great story you have. So thank you so much for joining us on Narativ. We'll have you back, I'm sure, especially when you win against Madison, but before then as well. Thanks very much for joining us. Have a good day.
Okay. Thank you guys so much.
Hug those babies.
Thank you. Good luck.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. What a nice guy. What a nice guy.
Refreshing. That
so
was
nice.
He's going to be like secretary. He's going to be Secretary of Defense in like 20 years.
Please. Right? That would be amazing. Yeah. I'm someone who's actually been on the front lines like that. Oh, it's so nice to hear that. It's so nice to be inspired by someone who's who feels what America's all about again. It's just we haven't had that in so long, and it's certainly not during the Trump years. And the Republicans are sort of missing in action on this front, and this is really their front. So it's nice to see the Democrats embracing the patriotism, because that's not that usual. But it seems to be a good place to go. Wow, what an inspiring guy.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't tease us and not reveal this.
Right. So it's the performance is the best political performances. The category was lost, but now it is found. And here we go. We have the graphics changed a little bit there, but it's Marge, Get Your Gun. About the story of Marjorie Taylor Greene and her guns. There's also the story on the other side of the Republican Party of Ocean's 11. This is the crew from the Republican Party who voted to, I think, ban Marjorie from their caucus or whatever it is. They decided, the 11 Republicans who crossed an ocean to vote against her. And then there's Major in The Call of the Wild. Major is Joe Biden's dog, and there he is. I think he's back home now after a week away, learning how to be a better dog after biting a Secret Service guy. Earlier on, we saw the actress, and now here she is in her big movie with Steve Mnuchin. It's called Goldfinger, and that's when they visited Fort Knox. What was her name again? Linton. Louise Linton or something like that.
Yeah.
We'll show you another scene from her movie on the way out here. And then Hidden Figures with Kamala Harris and Stacey Abrams and Deb Harland over there. So I think it was a good one. And finally, the Justice League, which everyone's going to be watching this weekend. I didn't get to finish this one. Narrative is funded by viewers like you. Support our independent journalism at patreon.com/narrative.